Hey guys, it's Britt and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you're here. Today is a very special YouTube video for a couple of reasons. I'm so excited to announce that we launched our very first podcast episode. So we just started a podcast. The name of it is From Our Family to Yours. I will of course have it linked down below, but I'm so excited. It's going to be a great way to get to know you guys and to recreate your family recipes. So again, it's called From Our Family to Yours, and my mission is to interview you guys, share your whole food plant-based journey, share different challenges and triumphs that you guys have had, and then also to get one of your family recipes that you love and recreate it into being whole food plant-based. So keeping all of those recipes that you guys have so fond memories of and that you might want to make for the holidays and different special events, and just showing you how to make easy swaps. So hopefully you'll get a lot of value out of the podcast episodes. It'll teach you how to transform the recipes that you already have that are important to you and make them health promoting. So we had our first episode. I shared my plant-based story. I also went through our family recipe and broke it down. I showed you guys what it was before and then what we've made it whole food plant-based and the swaps. And that's what we're gonna do today. So it's a really important recipe to us and kind of the whole idea behind starting the podcast. And again, I'm so excited. If you are interested in being a guest, all of that information is down below as well. And be sure to check us out. It's brand new. It just came out last week. So far we're on Spotify, Apple and Amazon Music, and a couple other spots that you can find podcasts. Eventually we'll be on everything. I know just some of them take a little bit of time when you're a brand new one, but I really hope you'll listen, and it's been so fun. And I can't wait to recreate your family recipes. So we're gonna jump into today's. Everything for this recipe is always in the show notes down below, as well as on our website with a free printable PDF. So you can head over there, you can print it out. I include grams. This is our famous chocolate cream cheese cake. I've made it before on our channel, so this might be one that you're like, I'm pretty sure she's done this before. But today I'm gonna make it very, 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 very similar to the original, and really that's just the shape. So in the old video, which I might make unavailable because I made it in a loaf pan and it was a pretty huge loaf cake. I just didn't have a bundt pan back then. Since obviously a couple years from now, I've got the bundt pan. It's silicone, it's 9 inches. It's linked on our Amazon shop, also found down below. But this works beautifully. The original cake that from my family was a bundt cake. So I do recommend making it as a bundt cake, and don't make it as a loaf cake. It worked, but this is much better. And I'm just so excited to share with you guys this recipe. It's just beloved. My husband requests it every year for his birthday. We make it for all of our family get-togethers, every holiday. I made it for his grad school party we had. And so I just love this. And also the fact that I made it whole food plant-based is pretty amazing looking at the original. And I think it tastes even better than the original. It stays really great in the refrigerator days and days later. It freezes great. It tastes beautiful. I'm just so excited to share this, guys, with you. So if you're looking for a special occasion cake, it's your birthday, you're looking for a holiday cake, you're looking for something to take to a party, this is the one you make. And it sounds very fancy and kind of looks like there's a lot of ingredients. It's really simple. There's 2 kind of parts, and I'm gonna show you how easy. So we're gonna make the cake part first, and then I'm gonna bring out my blender to make the cream cheese filling, and then we're gonna assemble, and that's pretty much it. And again, this looks really, really, really fancy, but it's very easy, I promise. So again, everything can be found written out in the description. And on our website, you can just print out the recipe and have it, but we're gonna get started. So the cake part, we're gonna use 1 flax egg. So this is 1 tablespoon of flax meal mixed with 3 tablespoons of water. I've just let it sit for a while and it gets nice and thick. Okay, you'll see when we add it to our bowl. Really easy. I have 3/4 cups of oat flour right here. And I have 3/4 cups of a whole wheat flour. Now you also can do this with buckwheat flour if you're gluten-free. We've also done this with einkorn flour, spelt flour. It's really, really flexible, whichever flour you kind of have. But I like whole wheat flour or whole wheat pastry flour with the oat flour. It's kind of our favorite way to make this. So just the flax meal and the flour has went in. Then we have 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Really easy to remember. And we also have 1/4 cup of cacao powder, or you can also use cocoa powder, either works. It's gonna be a chocolate cake. And that's for the dry part. So we're just gonna give that a quick toss. Kind of reminds me of cake mix that you'd get in a box. But it is so good. I love the combination of the cream cheese filling and this chocolate cake, and everyone has made it. I mean, you're watching this and you probably might have made it. It's a very, very popular recipe of ours. Has loved this cake. And this comes from, and you guys will learn on the podcast, but my great aunt, my Aunt Ruby, used to make this, and everyone loved it in our family. It was like a staple. It's one of the many memories I have of growing up, and I'm just so happy to share it with you guys. She's passed for many years now, and so it's so awesome for me to see her live on through this cake and seeing you guys make it, and that it can be healthy and taste so good. So, all right, that's the dry ingredients. Make sure you go and listen to the podcast, because really I talk about why I picked all of these certain amounts of ingredients and different types of ingredients compared to the original. All right, so now we're gonna move to the wet. So I did do this first. So you can take some plant milk and apple cider vinegar and let sit on the side, same with the flax egg that we made, and it makes a buttermilk. So really easy to do. So this is 1/2 cup of plant milk mixed with 1/2 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and it makes a buttermilk replacement. So simple and easy. And you'll see it kind of curdles like buttermilk as well. And then I have 1/2 cup of applesauce. I have 1/2 cup of date paste. Now, I've made this recipe so many times because you guys have asked questions on it. It also works with 1/2 cup of date sugar. So not all recipes will work wet for dry, but I've done it both ways. So if you want to use date paste or date sugar for this, either one works. 1/2 cup of that. That doesn't always work, but it does with this cake. And then I have 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla powder, or you could use extract, and I have 1/2 teaspoon of white miso paste. All right, now there's one more ingredient that really brings it all together and helps to make everything really incorporate really well. And that is 1 cup of a hot beverage. So you can use coffee, you can use tea. We really like kind of like a coffee replacement, and I actually really love using this brand Korma. So I will have them linked down below. This is not sponsored, but Korma takes the pits of dates and makes kind of a coffee replacement with it. And it is the closest thing I have found out of all of the coffee replacements to actual coffee. So again, you can use 1 cup of coffee, you can use 1 cup of tea, you can use 1 cup of a coffee replacement like this. You also can use 1 cup of boiling water. Whatever you'd like, 1 cup of a hot beverage is like what I like to say. But I'm gonna add that in. And that really helps melt everything together really well. So now, and it really starts to smell very chocolatey. If you do use coffee or a coffee replacement, or even tea, it really does enhance that flavor of coffee or of chocolate, which is what I find for this cake is really awesome. So we just want to make sure all of the dry ingredients are really mixed in well. So just scrape down. Try to get out any, as many lumps as you can, but as long as the flour is really well combined. And that's it for the cake part. The cream cheese filling takes 2 seconds in a high-speed blender, so we're gonna move to that part, but this is really simple and easy. This cake, again, looks really, really impressive. It freezes great, and it's not as daunting as it seems, I promise. All of our recipes, I always get asked, are your recipes, you know, how time involved or different things? Everything I do is pretty simple. It might look extravagant sometimes, like this one, but I promise you, any level, just starting to cook, you can do all of our recipes, no problem. Okay, this looks awesome. So I'm gonna set this aside while we make our cream cheese filling. Now the pan that I do like to use is a silicone pan. You probably can use like a regular nonstick bundt pan. I prefer and recommend 9 inches for the size. The key to getting it out without obviously if you're using a nonstick pan, not using any oil or anything like that. And then I love the silicone pan because obviously that's not even a thought. Silicone bakeware works great, of course, if you're oil-free like us. But any way that you do this is to let the cake cool completely. So do not try to flip any bundt pan, any bundt cake while it's warm. Okay, you really do need to let it sit for a while, cool, and then you can flip it. And I promise you it'll come out beautifully and you'll be very impressed with yourself. Because this is kind of a flimsy pan, cake pan, I do suggest that you put it on something that is easy for you to remove in and out of the oven. Just a little pro tip from doing this for a while. And we do this anytime I use like silicone, anytime cake pans, anything like this. I really like a pizza pan because it's round. And so I'll just, you know, put the cake batter in and we'll make it, put it in the oven. And when I remove it, it makes it easy as well. Just saves yourself so many disaster cleanups by doing this. And again, you can put it on a baking pan, doesn't have to be a pizza pan, but something you obviously can put in the oven works great. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up here and I'm gonna grab everything for the cream cheese filling part, and then we will assemble and bake. But again, this is such a beautiful recipe. We love it. It is such a family staple here, and I know you guys are gonna love this as well. And again, that recipe and all of the directions are down below and on our website with a free printable PDF and Microsoft document for you guys. If you haven't checked out our website, there are hundreds of recipes along with this YouTube channel, and I always make sure there's not, there's no ads, there's nothing like that. It's literally pictures of the recipe and the recipe to make it simple for you guys to find. All right, I will see you guys in a minute after I clean up and grab the next step. Now for the cream cheese filling, you just need a high-speed blender. We're gonna mix in everything. It's gonna take 2 seconds. So I have 1 cup of raw cashews. And if you have an older blender, you might wanna soak these to soften. Vitamix does a great job though, so I don't have to worry about that. I also have 1 cup of cooked white beans. It can be your favorite white bean of choice. Really easy to remember, 1 and 1. I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla powder. It sounds like a lot of vanilla powder, but this cake is so worth it. It's so good. And we are making it on special occasions, so it's worth it to splurge and use up a little bit more vanilla powder for this part and the cake. I have 6 pitted dates that are soft. So again, you might want to put these in some boiling water to soften them if you have an older blender. I like to use medjool dates as well. They're a little bit plumper. So that's our sweetener and our thickener. And then I have 3/4 cups of a plant milk unsweetened. And that's it. Now we do have some chocolate chips that we're gonna add, but don't put it to your blender. You don't want them to be blended in. I like to fold those in after it comes out. So this is the Santa Barbara dark chocolate chips. There's only 1 ingredient. And again, we like to use these to add to the cream cheese part for the filling of the cake. All right, you can give it a blend. It'll be a nice thick cream cheese. After it's all blended together, you really want the cashews and dates to be really well combined. It should be a very thick cream cheese. I'm gonna add it to the bowl just so you can see how thick it is. But we also are gonna add some dark chocolate chips to the batter and just fold them in. Now, how many chocolate chips you add is really up to you. I generally will just do a couple handfuls and that's good for us. But you can see it's like a really nice, thick, And also you can taste the batter to make sure it's sweet enough for you. This is a pretty mild sweetness, I find. It has 6 dates in it, but with the combination of how like not overly sweet this cake is, that's what I love about it. So, you know, we love it at 6 dates, but really your personal preference for how sweet you want the cream cheese to be is up to you. This makes many servings too. So just keep that in mind. It's really nice for a large gathering. And we also love to freeze this cake. It freezes beautifully. So if you need to make this way ahead of time, or if you have extra, if it's just a couple of you guys at home, freezing it is also a great tip. After you get it all out of your blender, again, you can add some optional dark chocolate chips if you want. Again, we just kind of do 2 little handfuls. It's up to you how chocolatey you want this. I don't really add any to the batter. I just let the batter be as is. I always add it to the cream cheese part. So you can make this double chocolatey if you wanted, but I think this is perfect. So give that a nice fold in. This is going to be the cream cheese filling, and then we have our batter. Again, make sure you have something to stabilize your silicone pan. That's really important. You also can preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Now this cake takes about 50 to 60 minutes to bake. At 50 minutes, you should do the toothpick test to see how your oven is. Generally, around 50 minutes is perfect for us every time I've made it. But we always like to do the toothpick test. Be aware that this has a cream cheese filling. So when you get to the cream cheese part, it can be somewhat difficult to tell if it's done. As long as the cake part is done, everything's good. Okay, so I have our 2 parts. This is a 9-inch silicone pan I'm using again. We'll have everything linked down below if you want to use exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to take about half to 3/4 of this batter and just add it to the bottom of our pan. Carefully, it's kind of heavy. And just do your best to kind of make sure it's as, you know, even as possible without making a mess. Trying to get it so you guys can see. But definitely leave some of it because we need to cover it so it's a cream cheese surprise when you go to cut into it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And if you have little ones at home, I always say doing this cake with them is so fun because you can definitely let them taste the cream cheese part ahead of time. All right, so in my pan, and you can get like a paper towel and kind of wipe off any excess that you end up having. But in my pan, I just have the batter. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add all of the cream cheese filling, again, as evenly as possible. And I like to just kind of do little dollops, so take a little bit and then just kind of go around. And it doesn't have to be spread out. I don't really mess with making sure this is totally even. As long as you get enough that it's all in the middle, I mean, it's perfect. It all works out in the end. Trust in the process. And I promise you, this is always such a hit. People don't even need to know it's whole food plant-based, let alone know that it doesn't have any, you know, dairy or anything else or refined sugar. This is literally the best cake ever, in my opinion. It's definitely, I'm so happy that we were able to keep this family tradition because it's literally the cake we make at every holiday and birthdays. Okay. All right, go ahead and scrape down. I like to get all of every inch of this batter out. And then you can just like gently kind of drag it across just to make sure it's kind of is, you know, even. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there's no like high points of the batter sticking up. It's all kind of smooth. Awesome. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back in with the cake batter to go over top. And that's it. We're gonna bake it and have a delicious cake in about 50 minutes. So you can just slowly kind of go around again. Make sure you get all of that cream cheese filling covered. And then this is gonna go into the oven. It's gonna turn into a beautiful cake. I definitely recommend making this as a bundt cake. That's how the original recipe was always prepared. I have had some people make it as cupcakes, but I think this is just so much easier, especially if you're gonna do the cream cheese filling. Once you have your batter in there, just make sure everything is covered. You want a nice even layer of the chocolate hiding that cream cheese filling. And then if you have air bubbles, you can always gently like tap it. That usually does the trick. Another thing I like to do is take a piece of paper towel and just clean up any of those edges that the extra batter might have touched. You can also do that kind of with the middle part of the bundt cake pan. So I will see you guys when it comes out. This goes in the oven again at 350 for 50 to 60 minutes. We're gonna let it cool completely before we remove it. That's really the ticket to getting it out nice and pretty and making sure it's, you know, beautifully presentation and you won't be frustrated that it's stuck. So I will see you guys when that comes out. I'm so excited for you to try this one. After your cake is done, you wanna let it cool completely. That is such an important part of this, okay? Really for it to come out in one piece. Another little tip and trick that I've learned is if you're using a silicone bundt pan, you can loosen up the middle part and just make sure nothing really gets like stuck on it. Also for the outside of the bundt pan, I like to just take a butter knife and just like gently kind of go around to make sure it's all like loosened from the sides. Those are things that I've done, really makes a difference. I'm gonna flip this onto our tray here, but let's talk about decorating the bundt cake. I really like serving this with a frosting. You'll see that it just looks, you know, it's beautiful once you cut into it, but it needs some kind of zhuzh on the top. So I actually like to just use date paste and use it as an icing. It's wonderful. It complements it really well. It looks really beautiful. It's a different kind of color brown than the cake, so it kind of stands out. And you can put your fruit to stick to it. Another thing that we've done is we have a couple different cake recipes on our channel. You can make a vanilla frosting. We have a chocolate frosting. So little things like that. I think the date paste just complements the cake because it's a little bit of sweetness too. And then again, fresh fruit is how we like it. So I usually will get any kind of berries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, and I'll decorate the entire plate. I decorate the top of it. The berries will stick to the frosting or date paste, whatever you put on as your topping. And then I like to make berries all around. It just makes it even more impressive. Now, this cake is best served cold. So I'm gonna show you how to decorate it and all of that. But before I go and serve it, I would chill this completely in the refrigerator. So you wanna make this ahead of time. You wanna serve it cold. It's okay, room temperature, but it is amazing served cold. So the original recipe, my great Aunt Ruby's recipe, was served cold. That's the best version for this. This also, again, freezes great. So you can share with people, you can make for a party, you can freeze it for later. It does wonderful. So those are some tips and tricks. Okay, and you'll also see that this filled up the 9-inch bundt pan very well, beautifully sized, and it's just so good. So excited for this. Okay, so I'm gonna flip it. This is always kind of the scary part, but it always turns out okay. And I love this bundt pan because again, like, scary part's over, but you can just loosen it and then just pull directly up. And it came out in one piece. So you'll see that not a lot stuck to it. Came out nice and clean, no oil needed. And she's beautiful when you cut into it, but it does need like something on top. So again, I would chill this cake completely for video purposes. I'm gonna ice it and decorate it and get this video to you guys, but we will have this cold. So again, make sure you have it cold. It is so good that way. Okay, and then again, make sure you put the silicone pan on something. It just helps stabilize it. It makes it less stressful when you're removing it from the oven. Really a great hack. And I always use a pizza pan when we do bundt cakes. Okay, all right, so I have just date paste. It's just like on our video, just like we used for this recipe. It's just some extra date paste. It's nice and thick. and it actually will frost so good. So, you know, you can do this and chill the whole thing if you have room. You can chill the cake and then frost before you're gonna serve it. However you'd like to do it. But it ends up being like just a great general frosting. Like you don't even have to necessarily make something special. You can just pull out the date paste. And I just ice like kind of the top of it, just wherever I'm gonna have the berries stick. Again, you can decorate it however you want. We have a great vanilla frosting. We have a great chocolate frosting recipe. Those would be excellent with these. And to change it up, we make this cake recipe, again, every holiday, birthdays, anytime there's a special event. We're celebrating being in our home for 1 year. So we moved last year, so this is our celebratory celebration, and we'll share with neighbors and freeze some of it. So really a fun, special occasion cake. But we just change it up. So sometimes I do it like this, sometimes I make it with vanilla, sometimes I do chocolate frosting. So it just depends. But don't underestimate date paste as, it's almost like caramel. Okay, and then the berries really, and you can do the sides if you want, like there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm actually gonna do the sides to see if the berries will stick a little bit better. Really just an easy, quick, you know, most of us can make date paste like super fast. You also can make a sweet paste. So on our YouTube channel, if you want to use a different kind of dried fruit, we have a recipe that's for a sweet paste. I will link that up above for you guys. And it's just fun. So if you have like apricots or cherries and just want to do a different flavor. Okay. So it doesn't need like a ton of it either. I still have a bunch left. And then I have some blackberries, whatever looks good. And then I just like to kind of go around, and the glue is the date paste or the frosting or whatever you use. You can just kind of gently press down. And I'm just gonna go along and decorate it. And that's it. Super simple and easy. So I'm gonna photograph this. I will post a little video of what the cake looks like at the end. Believe me, it is so good. Everyone loves this recipe. You can take this to family members that are not whole food plant-based and they will love it. We adore this recipe. Again, it's birthdays, celebrations, anytime we're together and doing something important or special, this cake is surely at it. And again, this recipe came from my great-great Aunt Ruby. We've made it whole food plant-based, SOS free. It was her original recipe, you know, was not that way. And be sure to check out our podcast so that way you can hear about the original and all of the reasons of all the swaps I did to get us here. Now, if you want me to recreate one of your family recipes and make it whole food plant-based, I would love to do that. Fill out the podcast guest form. I'm taking you know, anyone that wants to be on here and has a recipe they'd like me to do and share their plant-based story. We have a waiting list right now, but if you are interested in being a future member or guest on there, be sure to fill that out and make sure that you listen to the first episode. It turned out so good. I love creating and making things and sharing. And I'm so excited because my next guest for the second episode will be my brother. So you guys will get to meet him and hear us chat about a favorite recipe of our mom's. So it's just, I feel like family is obviously so important. And, you know, it's the reason we do so much in our life. And it's just a gift for me to give it back to your family and, you know, keep all of those special traditions and recipes alive while being healthy. And know that being whole food plant-based, there are no limits. It's only abundance. And if you change your mindset to a growth mindset, really you can see that you're not giving up anything. It's just gaining a ton. So I speak about that a little bit in the podcast, but we just, we adore that we can have this cake and know that it's healthy and, you know, feel good about people we serve it to. All right, well, I will see you guys later. I'm gonna finish decorating this cake. I will take video of it cut so you see the inside of it. But I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Make sure you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Check out all of the links down below for the recipe. You want to print it off and get the grams. If you guys do make this, make sure you take a picture and share it with us. I love seeing it. It would make my great Aunt Ruby so proud to know that her recipe lives on. And I just adore sharing this with you, and I hope you'll listen to the new podcast, From Our Family to Yours. All right, I'll see you guys next Sunday. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.